David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review. Today I have for you something I feel is very unique and interesting. I've always said that a pen is a pen, but a pen with a story is something that's that much more special. And the pen I have for you today has an interesting background and story. It is a limited edition pen created in partnership with the New Orleans-based retailer Papier Plume and the Herbert Pen Company, as well as an artist by the name of Brandy Covillion. And that pen is called the Wetland Cypress. What I'm going to do today is go over the parts and features of the Wetland Cypress, as well as the unique source of the material used to make this pen. I'll talk about what I care for and what I don't care for about it. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. I'll also be showing you a new limited edition ink from Papier Plume as well. Thanks go out to the good folks at Papier Plume for providing this pen on loan for review. The pen arrives in this nice piano lacquered box, and then inside we have a nice sleeve from Rickshaw Bagworks. Rickshaw makes some great stuff. They do a really good job of printing designs of just about any graphic you can imagine on their products. This one here has a nice wood grain, and that's because this pen is made from wood. This is the Wetland Cypress. Now, I mentioned this material had a bit of a story. It's made from a material called sinker cypress. This wood is made from a large cypress tree that fell in the Atchafalaya Basin, which is a little bit north of New Orleans, close to Baton Rouge, and was submerged in water for around 500 years. The basin is the largest block of floodplain forest in the United States, a floodplain forest being a fancy word for swamp. Being underwater for so long, the wood will actually absorb content from the mineral-rich, silt-filled waters, giving the wood a unique color and density. I really like the pronounced grain of this material. The story is that this specific tree was recovered by a family who has a business where they recover these prized logs. Going back 3 generations, they had made attempts at recovering this specific tree, but were only recently successful in their attempt. Let's take a look at the top of the cap. It is slightly rounded, and it gives you a really nice cross-section of the wood grain. This transitions into this remarkable clip, which for me is a real highlight of this pen. It's made from brass and was created by a New Orleans-based artist and jewelry maker named Brandy Covillion. A number of her jewelry creations contain historical references, bringing the past into the present, and this clip is no different. This clip depicts an image from a map of the New Orleans area from the 1880s. Bayou St. John is a tributary of the Mississippi River. The portage was very central to the early development of New Orleans. After the area was developed, as it stands now, it's more of a canal, and the surrounding bayou was kind of filled in, and it's become more of a structured waterway. I like how this clip meanders its way down the length of the cap. I also like the small detail of having the little grooves down the side of the clip. Now, I'm not certain if they are grooves or if it utilizes a technique where multiple layers of brass are welded together, but either way, I care for the look. It's functional as well. The end of the clip is raised slightly, making it easy to slide in and out of a pocket. This clip is a bit on the thin side. It's something that I wouldn't want to leave in a very thick material for an extended period of time. If you care for this clip, on the artist website, you can purchase bracelets with this design. They look pretty cool. Another thing, when looking at this clip, the wood grain in the pen kind of reminds me a lot of a topographical map, which is an interesting look. The cap angles up slightly and then levels out for the last inch or so. And then there is a medium-sized step down to the barrel. And then the barrel tapers down at a fairly even angle until you reach the end where it is very slightly rounded. On the barrel itself, it's engraved with the artisans behind this pen, Chet Herbert of the Herbert Pen Company and Brandy Covillion, the name of the pen, and then the limited edition number. This number here is number 0. It's the artist's proof. This is a limited edition of 113 pens, with the number 13 being significant because that's how long the retail shop of Papier Plume has been open. The cap twists off with 2.5 rotations, and underneath we have a couple of cool things. First of all, we have this stainless steel gold-colored nib, engraved with the fleur-de-lis, which is the logo for the Herbert Pen Company, and ties in nicely with the New Orleans theme of this pen. The nib will be available in extra fine, fine, medium, as well as a gold option, and also an option for a Stylo Suite X-Wing harpoon nib. Those nibs are pretty cool. If you'd care to see what one of those looks like, you could check out my review of another pen from Papier Plume called the Blues. I'll show it to you during the writing sample as well. And here's a look at the plastic feed. The section is a diamond cast acrylic. There is actually diamond dust that is actually built into the material, so it gives it a lot of strong color and pearlescence. And I think that it matches well with the natural wood of the rest of the pen. I think this looks a lot nicer than just a standard black section. Also, I think it was wise to not continue the natural wood down to the section because you're going to get ink on the section when loading up this pen, and then you could run into a higher likelihood of staining the section, which is not ideal. The section is concave, and it's a decent length, and even though it's very smooth, I don't find it to be slippery at all. The section then transitions into the threads, which aren't sharp, and then there's a medium-sized step up to the remainder of the barrel. Something else Chet has done when making this pen, which I think was a smart move, the cap and body are completely sleeved with the gold diamond cast in order to add strength to the structure of the pen and protect the inside of the pen from any exposure to ink. This is a cartridge converter pen. It accepts standard international cartridges, and a converter is provided. With the barrel being sleeved, in theory, you could even eyedropper this pen if you so desired, which is something you typically can't say about a fountain pen made from wood. That you can post this pen, and it does post securely. For a pen made of wood, I typically don't post those pens just because since this is a natural material, I'm afraid it might leave a little bit of a mark on there. The cap and barrel of this pen are natural wood. As such, it would possibly stain if exposed to ink. So you'll want to keep that exposure to a minimum. If any ink does get on there, you'll want to wipe it off as quickly as possible. Even though this wood was retrieved from underwater, you don't want to soak this pen in water or expose it to moisture for more than a quick cleaning. Doing so could damage the wood, as wood will absorb water and expand, where it could potentially develop cracks. The Wetland Cypress is available only from the Papier Plume site and retails for $395. Well, that's not inexpensive. What you are receiving here is a distinctive piece of art, handcrafted from an interesting material with a pretty cool story, as well as one of the most unique clips I've ever seen on a fountain pen. I feel that it's an intriguing package that does a good job of paying tribute to the New Orleans region. I'll put a link in the notes below where you can find this pen on the Papier Plume site. I have a feeling that these 113 pens won't be around that long. So if this interests you, I would suggest picking one up sooner rather than later before they are gone. Another thing that they're doing I feel that's really neat is when you are purchasing the pen, you could actually choose what limited edition number you would like. That's a nice thing. They're releasing 10 pens this week, and then there'll be more released in the near future. So if you see in the next couple of days that they're sold out, I believe that that's temporary until the next batch arrives. Okay, now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and a writing sample with that new limited edition Fountain Pen Day ink from Papier Plume that you'll want to check out as well. Here we go with some size comparisons for the Papier Plume Wetland Cypress. Here it is with a Montblanc 149 and a Pilot 823. And then here it is with a aforementioned Papier Plume, the Blues. And this particular pen had that X-Wing harpoon nib from Stylo Suite. And you can see here that it has the cutaways in the shoulders, and it's a really nice flex nib. And in regard to some other size comparisons, here it is with a Lamy 2000, a Platinum 3776 in Chartreuse Blue, and then a Lamy All-Star. in regard to some uncapped comparisons, here it is with the Lamy 2000, the Pilot 823, and the Platinum 3776. Here we go with the writing sample for the Papier Plume. Wetland Cypress. This here is a fine stainless steel nib, and the ink that I'm using, as I mentioned before, is a new limited edition ink from Papier Plume called Papier Plume. L'Héron Bleu. Get the accent over there. This is what the ink looks like. It's a nice blue. It's kind of almost on the royal blue side. Here it is with a Namiki blue. It's a little bit darker than that, and it's not quite as saturated as the Pelikan 4001 royal blue. This is what the bottle looks like. It has a nice graphic there of a nice blue heron. We have actually blue herons that live in our neighborhood. And there's some at the pond around the corner from us. Well, there's one, and we have named her Gracie. I don't know if Gracie is actually more than one heron or if it's just one heron, but whenever we see the heron there, we always say hi to Gracie. Another fun heron story is I grew up in San Diego, and out in Coronado, near their public library, they have herons that nest in the trees there. And so you have to be very careful when entering and exiting the library, because many people have been hit in the head with fish that have fallen out of the trees, because the herons will go grab some fish and bring it back to their nests, and then the fish will fall out of the sky and hit people in the head. So that's always something to look out for when you're there in Coronado at the public library. But overall, this is a really nice ink. A portion of the proceeds of this ink are going to wetlands conservation, and this ink is not sold in combination with the Wetland Cypress pen. It is separate, and this is a limited edition ink, and so as most of Papier Plume's limited edition inks, they will sell out. So if you like this blue, you should pick that up sooner rather than later as well. And in regard to the rest of the writing sample, I find this fine nib to be a little bit on the firm side. It does have a fair amount of feedback. I would not call it scratchy at all. You're not going to get a lot of flexibility out of that. But it does have a fair amount of feedback to it. In regard to ink flow, it's decent, and some reverse writing. It's a little bit scratchy. And in regard to some fast writing, the feed has no problem in keeping up. So there you have the Papier Plume Wetland Cypress. I think this is a really interesting combination of a number of different elements that I really like the wood that's used. I like the story behind it. I think the clip is amazing, and that I think the people behind this pen have all done a very good job. And so it's something very interesting that you'll want to check out. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.